Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I hope that you had a great Tuesday, whether you voted or not. And if you didn't vote, it doesn't really matter because it appears that this election may be already decided. I don't know what to say. We're talking right now about Super Tuesday, of course, and what's going on is Joe Biden has clearly benefited from some sort of establishment ploy to basically save any semblance of control that they have over the party. I don't believe that they really look at him as a person who can win the election, but I would say that, as bizarre as it may sound, nominating Joe Biden for the Democrats is to them the best hope that they have of remaining a coherent force in politics. And I don't know what to say about that. It feels extremely, I think people should be worried about the state of the American political system, the way that the Democratic Party is behaving in 2020. And I'm not saying this because I'm a supporter of Bernie Sanders, because, by the way, I did have an article published tonight by American Greatness called Fake Radical Bernie Sanders Colludes with DNC and Establishment. Originally it was titled something else, but the editor changed it. But this is actually a good edit, in my opinion. Don't always agree with my editors. And this goes through a lot of the big betrayals that he has perpetrated against his supporters and against people who have fought against the establishment since 2016 and before 2016. People like Julian Assange who have depended on his... Sorry, the camera's in reverse on the screen, so I was trying to get that one strand of hair out of my face. In any case, we will go through some of the events of the past few days. First of all, just so you know, we now have this panel of different, what do you call them, different candidates. These are the only people left, I believe. Joe Biden, Michael Bloomberg, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. The three people who dropped out over the weekend were Tom Steyer and... Tom Steyer, Amy Klobuchar, and Peter Buttigieg, and two of them endorsed. They endorsed Joe Biden. Suddenly, out of the blue, they decided after South Carolina, we're going to drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders, endorse Joe Biden, and therefore, once that became so once they dropped out, a lot of their supporters, I would say, decided, we're just going to vote for Joe Biden. I don't know how to explain it. I don't see why people who, for months, they were following these other candidates, they decided, you know what, we'll go with the person who is much older, much less coherent, and has much more baggage than the candidate that I've been following for several months. So the only way I can explain it is that a lot of people are simply Democrat, vote blue no matter who voters. They don't really care about the issues. They care about who the media tells them to vote for. And that's unfortunate. I think that, with all the flaws of who he is and what he believes in, Bernie Sanders believes in something. And a lot of the voters who have been voting for Biden, I don't know what they believe in. It's an observation. Obviously, I don't want to vote shame people, just like the Hillary people vote shamed Bernie Sanders after the 2016 primaries. I'm not going to begrudge people for voting for Joe Biden, but I will say that it's very confusing what he stands for. In 2008, I can pull up this video, and it's very it's very crazy, okay? This is what he said. So this was 2008. It's probably not even on YouTube anymore. Yes, here it is. So, Washington Examiner. This is from 2012.
Barack Obama ain't taking my shotguns, so don't buy that malarkey. Don't buy that malarkey. They're gonna start peddling that to you. I got two. If he tries to fool my Beretta, he's got a problem. I guarantee you, Barack Obama ain't taking my shotguns, so don't buy that malarkey. Don't buy that malarkey. They're gonna start peddling that to you. I got two. If he tries to fool my Beretta, he's got a problem.
So this was him in 2008 in Virginia campaigning. And lo and behold, he's completely flipped on that issue. And he actually won Virginia today, which is, by the way, it's impressive what he did, but you have to. I mean, the guy is basically just this gun control jerk off. That's what he is. He won Virginia. He just dismantled Bernie Sanders. It's unbelievable how. I'm wondering what were the results for the Virginia Republican primary, because I think that they did have one today. Maybe they canceled it. I know that some of the it's June 9th, 2020, so okay, so I think that they called it off. So yeah, they're just gonna pick him at the state convention. But in any case, so Joe Biden has gone from opposing gun control in front of a crowd in Virginia in 2008 before he ended up being Barack Obama's running mate, and now in 2020 he is the most pro-gun control candidate that there is, and that just shows how much of a slimy parasite he is. Bernie Sanders also has been very limp-wristed in defending gun rights since 2016. He has sold out completely. And I would say if you are a Second Amendment person, and I certainly am, this might be the most important election of our lives. It basically, and I'm not saying because of what we can lose so much as what we could gain. Okay, maybe let's say Donald Trump was to lose in 2020. I think that the court system has been loaded with a lot of judges who could protect Second Amendment rights. I don't think we should rely on that. However, if Donald Trump was to win in 2020 and get majorities in both houses of Congress, and a lot of the people who would come in who would be younger or freshmen, senators and congressmen would likely be as staunchly pro Second Amendment as you could get. You could get nationwide concealed carry. You could get a lot of different pieces of the pro Second Amendment agenda passed, and some of the peripheral stuff, you could get, you know, you could get some work done concerning issues with regard to mental health that prevent mass shootings. Now, a lot of that's conjecture. I'm not trying to say that a Republican Party, which has failed for decades to solve many other problems, which has been fiscally irresponsible. I'm not saying that they're going to be the panacea that could fix all the gun rights issues that we're talking about, because they can't solve other issues. They can't solve issues that are much more basic. So I'm going to put that article in the chat, the one that I wrote that was published tonight, concerning fake radical Bernie Sanders colludes with the DNC and the establishment. And I say that I'm not. I would say Bernie Sanders is to some degree radical, but he's radical in all the wrong ways. He's not radical in defense of the people who have been fighting for him, and for that, I think that he deserves my full contempt. So I'm going to try to wrap up everything tonight in the next 18 to 20 minutes, or yeah, something like that. It's just really late over here. I do enjoy doing these every once in a while, but because of my metabolism and my schedule, my work schedule and everything, it just doesn't really work out as much. Plus, I do a lot more writing than I used to. So it was a lot of fun going on Lennon and Swarthy's stream on Saturday night, but unfortunately, I had to get up that morning too. So I had to get up Sunday morning, so I had to cut that short. But I do enjoy, both streaming on this channel and joining other people's streams. But if you guys have ideas that you want to shoot to me on topics you want to talk about, my email is going to be in the chat, and you can send me, different things you want to talk about. Bloomberg says that Klobuchar and Buttigieg behaved themselves after dropping out and endorsing Biden. You know what? Michael Bloomberg has bought up lots of politicians. He's in no place to talk. I think, unfortunately, you're talking about different camps of corrupt politicians that are just pointing fingers at each other. Tulsi Gabbard is, I believe, one of the few people left who hasn't really just bent over and taken it for the establishment. I think that she is obviously her cause is the most lost cause. She's the lost cause of all lost causes. It's tragic. It's tragic and pathetic. But you have to hand it to her. She's taking a lot. She's taking a lot of arrows, and obviously she could be at home just doing nothing like most people in Congress do, which is what she could have just not run in this election and just commented from the side, but no, she decided to do this. And I think you do have to respect that. Chris Matthews, I did try to shoot a video way early yesterday morning about this, and it was too short. Plus, I was really tired, so I didn't have much energy while doing it. So we're going to talk about it now. Accused of inappropriately flirting with female guests. This was a woman named Laura Bassett, and apparently he said that he was, why haven't I fallen in love with you yet, while she was in the makeup chair. Now, this is some corny bullshit, but it's not fireable corny bullshit, and that's why I think that this has really come up for Russiagate, because these morons who for years were saying that Russia had rigged the election. Russia is basically controlling the American political system with these puppet strings, and he gets forced out of his position by some random woman who's barely been on TV, bringing up some bullshit Me Too story that was just about some things that he said. He leaves that position for that very weak Me Too story, which I believe is just it's not even that's not even the real reason, I believe. I think the real reason is that she released this, quote unquote story in reaction to Chris Matthews and his ridiculous comment on the air that Bernie Sanders had marched through Nevada like the Germans marched through France in 1941. That was, now look, I don't find it offensive, not in the least. I'm Jewish just like Bernie Sanders, but unlike Bernie Sanders, I don't just relate my Jewish identity to the Holocaust. I'm not some sort of withering simp like he is. So I don't find it offensive, but it was completely over the top. It showed his emotional both the fragility and his just lack of composure at the time. And then there was this gem. So why isn't YouTube loading? So I guess we'll have to do it here. This is one of the funniest clips that you'll ever see. This one doesn't have the video though. Here we go. This is I can't believe that I missed this over the weekend, but it is golden.
Challenges for the rest of these Democrats.
Jamie, I see you standing next to the guy you're going to beat right there, maybe. Lindsey Graham.
Tim Scott.
Jamie?
Tim Scott.
Who's that?
That's Tim Scott.
I'm sorry. Oh, it's the other senator, Tim Scott. What am I saying? Big mistake. Mistaken identity, sir. Sorry. Tell me how you're going to beat Lindsey. Everybody knows Lindsey.
Everybody knows Lindsey, but everybody doesn't like Lindsey Graham, and that's how I'm going to beat him, Chris. He's down there.
So he confuses the black guy who's with him
for the rest of these Democrats.
with Tim
Jamie,
Scott.
I see you standing next to the guy you're going to beat right there, maybe. Lindsey Graham.
Tim Scott.
Jamie?
Tim Scott.
Who's that?
That's Tim Scott.
I'm sorry. Oh, it's the other senator, Tim Scott. What am I saying? Big mistake. Mistaken identity, sir. Sorry. Tell me how you're going to beat Lindsey. Everybody knows Lindsey.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Now, I guess you could see how Tim Scott is similar to Jamie Harrison, who's the Democrat candidate for Senate in South Carolina, who doesn't stand a snowball's chance in hell of beating Lindsey Graham. Ironically, this is what's also weird. Lindsey Graham is often accused of being a closeted gay person, and you also have Tim Scott, who's also I think he's single in South Carolina. So South Carolina has two unmarried senators. It's got to be causing some rumors. Not that I really care. Sam Donaldson says Biden doesn't have what it takes to get in a knife fight in the back alley with Trump. So Mr. Toupee is really trying to cape for Mike Bloomberg here.
Called himself the only candidate that can beat President Trump and took shots today at Biden and Sanders, saying neither will attract necessary moderate Republican or independent votes. Joining me now, former ABC News anchor Sam Donaldson. He's a volunteer.
Look at that toupee. It's ridiculous.
For the Bloomberg campaign. Sam, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. What makes a guy like you get involved in a political campaign?
Well, I don't think I would have done so because I'm retired from the news business. So, of course, I could do anything partisan I want without selling the business or my own reputation, except for Donald J. Trump. He must be defeated. We're going to have one more chance to get the country back on track with the rest of the world. One more chance to stop hurting people in this country unnecessarily, the caged children on the southern border, you know all that stuff.
Yep.
We have this one chance, and I thought, well, I want to do something. I can't give
Yeah, this is this is the peak of desperation here. So yeah, we did that. By the way, Cenk is falling apart piece by piece. It's 33% for his rival, the Democrat Christy Smith, in Katie Hill's 25th Congressional District of California. Then behind her are two Republicans, Mike Garcia and Steve Knight. It's very apparent that it will probably be Mike Garcia, who's the Republican nominee, and he'll probably, the Republicans will probably pull together and, of course, vote together. I guess George Papadopoulos pulled out of the race because I don't see his name here. But in any case, you're going to see, so it's going to be a race between Mike Garcia and Christy Smith in all likelihood. Cenk Uygur, though, is only at 2,800 votes at the moment, at less than 5%. And it's not going to be a very comfortable rest of the week or rest of the year for Mr. Uygur, because the Democrats have basically washed out the progressive stain in much of the party tonight. Now, I'm not saying that they've completely gotten rid of it, because obviously a lot of these people are still in elected office. The congressional nominations are right now not decided, mostly, to my knowledge. But let's look at all of the races. You had Bernie Sanders winning Vermont 50 to 22% over Joe Biden. But you actually have Joe Biden. This is what's shocking to me. So in Vermont, while Sanders won by over a 2-to-1 ratio, he won 11 delegates and Biden won 5. But once you get to the convention, I think all the pledged delegates will pretty much go to Biden, meaning that essentially they break even on Bernie Sanders' home state. Do you think that it's going to be so? Biden will basically take the super delegates from Vermont, I believe, unless Sanders has some sort of arrangement there, and probably from Delaware, his own home state. So that we're not really talking about an even competition here. The Democratic nomination race is just a complete and utter joke. Why even compete? That's my opinion. Because when you have these people who they spend all this money telling you to come drive over to a voting location and cast your ballot, maybe you've had like a busy week or you have things to do, or you went and knocked on doors and campaigned and everything, and then at the end of the day, it's really these super delegates that decide it, and therefore your vote is of minuscule importance compared to them. Yeah, I would be, if I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, which I'm glad to say I'm not, I would very much be just apoplectic with rage at this disgusting party. Let me see. I think Texas might have changed. So let me see if this refreshes. Will it be different? So in Texas, you have 56 for Biden. So yeah, Biden has pulled ahead in Texas too. So this is going to be a very rough night for. Now, it's not the worst night for Bernie, but it's not nearly as good as people were expecting, because Buttigieg and Klobuchar basically threw all of their support behind him. That is unbelievable. I mean, he swept Sanders in Virginia. Sanders is basically finished in the South because he lost Virginia by a 53 to 23 margin, not counting superdelegates. He lost North Carolina by a closer margin, 42 to 24, not counting superdelegates. I'm going to keep repeating that, by the way. You're just going to the rest of this evening. I'm going to keep repeating the issue of superdelegates. Alabama, 63% to 16%. Sanders was almost not even crossing the viability threshold in Alabama. So all of the southern states so far, Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, have all gone to Biden. So the firewall did hold, something that people were predicting wouldn't happen. Now, Bernie did win the big prize tonight, which was California. He's currently holding at 30% with 44% of the vote tallied already, with Biden at 20%. But look, even though that's the big prize for Bernie Sanders, he only won less than a third of it, while Bloomberg took a full 17%. That's bad news for everyone else, because that essentially, Bloomberg delegates, the more that there are at the convention, that's just a guarantee that this convention is going to be a deadlock, and you're going to have a lot of horse trading. I could pretty much assume that Joe Biden is going to have to consult Mayor Bloomberg as to who his his running mate is going to be. He's not going to make it Mike Bloomberg, because that would be a tremendous mistake. But you get what I'm saying. Sorry about that. So, yes, you do have this wave against Bernie Sanders. Texas will in all likelihood stay in Biden's column for this evening. I don't know what could happen. I mean, yeah, there's 77% already counted. So I would expect that Biden holds on in Texas. Sanders did win in Utah, which isn't that big of an accomplishment, but I was expecting him to win Utah. I don't think that people understand that when you're a Democrat in Utah, you're talking a lot of people who are, I guess, what you would call the hippy-dippy vote. So we're not talking about the Mormons. I think most of the Mormons in Utah would probably vote Republican. Obviously, there's some liberal Mormon tendencies, which I don't entirely understand. But yes, you're going to have a lot of these Mormons voting for someone like that. So yeah, Utah went to Bernie, Minnesota went to Biden, Colorado Bernie won. That's a good pickup for him, and I think it's important. We're gonna see, unfortunately. So I do think that with the victory in California, the victory in Nevada, Bernie Sanders has widened his base since 2016 in terms of voters, specifically in those two states. Those are two states that Clinton won, and now he's taking it, and he's taking it into his column, even though it's not by an overwhelming margin because you have more than two candidates. But you're going to see Sanders continue to. I mean, let's see if we can even pull up this. The Wikipedia maps are usually the best, so hopefully they've updated it as much as they could. So yeah, you see Bernie. There's this whole wall in the West. Utah, you see this linear progression: Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and California. I expect him to probably also win New Mexico and Arizona because of Biden's record on immigration and deportations, more specifically. And then you see, so the West is going to be probably dominated by Bernie. He's probably going to take Oregon and Washington running away, I should say. Idaho also likely. So all of these states that are very low Democratic participation, you don't expect them to vote for the centrist nominee, because what do they care whether Joe Biden gets nominated or not? Joe Biden isn't going to win Wyoming. No Democrat has won Wyoming, by the way, since 1964. Larry says he voted for her in California today. I'm assuming, Major Gabbard, so Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I don't think, I have a lot of misgivings about her positions, but you have to respect the degree to which she's just taken a lot of she's sacrificed a lot through this campaign, sacrificed a lot in emotional and mental grief because of the media vendetta against her. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think I would probably take her over any of these other clowns that are in the race. And in 2 weeks, I have the chance to vote for her. Maybe I will. I haven't decided that yet. I might just, vote in the Republican primary. Not that it matters. By the way, I've decided to say there's one issue that you should always vote on. I know that a lot of I've said if you don't believe in voting, that's fine. If you don't like going out to vote, if you don't want to participate, that's a position too. But if there's a school levy on the ballot and you keep complaining that your property taxes are going up, then you're an idiot if you don't vote. And I have a school levy coming up in 2 weeks, and that's the hottest issue going on in my community. Nothing about these morons that are touring around the country and talking about appointing a secretary of education based on whether someone is some trans kid supports them. That's, by the way, Elizabeth Warren. I didn't even mention Elizabeth Warren is an afterthought at this point. Her results are just pathetic. So in Vermont, she's at 12.6%. She's not even viable. Virginia, 10.8%. Same idea. North Carolina, 10.6%. Alabama, she only got 5.8%. Okay. In Maine, 15.9%. So she got some delegates there. So all of those states. So Massachusetts, she got 21.2%. So she came in third in her home state. That is humiliating, and it likely shows that she has no chance going forward. Obviously, she could still horse trade for her delegates, but who really needs her endorsement at this point? She's a failure. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren in Oklahoma, the state where she was born, 13.4%. Tennessee, so she came in third there too, behind Sanders and Biden. Tennessee, 10.1%. Arkansas, 10%. Colorado, 17.2%. So she passed the viability threshold there. Minnesota, 15.4%. Passed the threshold there. Texas, 11.6%. She misses the threshold there. And then Utah, 15.4%. She passes the threshold there. Will get probably a very small share of the delegates. And then she doesn't make the threshold in California. She logged in at 12.2%. That is just, that's the kill shot. She is done. Elizabeth Warren is officially just not viable. Yeah, she has 45 delegates. That's not going to be a very large bargaining chip. Gerke says, so do we, bro, especially your Second Amendment BS, but Cal's a request Dem primary ballot state, so I awarded her anti-war and anti-regime change gibberish. Fair enough. Last topic we're going to do today, because I need to go. Seb Gorka is getting just blasted for his position on InfoWars. This is interesting. Sorry, there's an ad here. So he was at CPAC and he said that InfoWars shouldn't have gotten in. I have mixed feelings about Seb Gorka. I think that he has a brilliant show. I think he's very entertaining. And unfortunately, he's also he's not somewhat. He is a gatekeeper. He does do things that are at the same time claiming that he stands up for free speech and simultaneously saying, we need to keep these people out because they're going to embarrass us. That he did with the Groypers. And by the way, I don't get along with the Groypers very much at all. I did have a Groyper on the show. I don't believe in most of what they believe. They believe. I think that they do believe in what you could call third position economics. Okay, so I'm not going to use the other word most people use, but because otherwise they'll say, oh, you're smearing them. But yeah, the Groypers basically believe in a hybrid socialist capitalist economy. They don't believe in true free enterprise. So I certainly don't like Fuentes and the Groypers, but Sebastian Gorka was calling for them to be removed from Twitter. That was wrong. I've been banned from Twitter, and it was just from using the R word. So let me see here. February 29th. So he says, guys, you need to read tweets more closely. For the record, free speech is number one for a reason, but InfoWars and All I Do is own are conspiracy theorist kooks who undermine MAGA, and people like Nick J. Fuentes and anyone else who denies the Holocaust are not conservatives. Look, the fact is that Fuentes, regardless of whether he does or does not deny the Holocaust, which he has a number of contradictory statements about that, and he says some of the things he says were jokes, which I guess, joking is sort of, people have to read into it. I think I did see the video. I didn't know if he was joking or not. But that doesn't mean he's not a conservative. He certainly has conservative social views. And look, I don't like Nick Fuentes, but people love his show. It is kind of an entertaining show. I think I have to give it that. And, Gorka should have never even commented on it if he didn't want this thing. So Jones, the founder of InfoWars, responded Monday on his show challenging Gorka to a charity bare-knuckle boxing match. That Gorka's a big guy. I challenge him to a charity bare-knuckle boxing match. It'll raise, I'm serious, they'll have it in Vegas. I'll get in that ring and I will beat his brains out. Just sign the form. So let's see if...
Because it's not about Gorka,
this
who's
good.
A nobody, wasn't even conservative, came into the Trump administration with fraudulent credentials, lied that he was a combat veteran. None of that was true. I mean, he's stolen glory. He's the snake oil salesman. He's everything he says we are. But I learned the day I was there that Gorka was going around having people thrown out. And I just go, whatever, don't engage the gay whale is what I call him. I'm not saying he's actually gay, but he's very effeminate in these pictures with guns posing with him. And, he's always sashaying around, shaking his booty, going, Gorka. So I'm just like, the gay whale. And the dude acts like a flamer. Now, I don't think it's flamers. He just, if I was going to cast a fat gay dude for a movie, it'd be Gorka.
That's kind of funny. So I'm a little torn here. I do like Sepp Gorka's show. I also like Alex Jones' show. Nick Fuentes I don't like, but, a lot of people like his show. I don't like CPAC. People have asked me in the past, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, whether I was going to go to CPAC. It wasn't even a question for me. I don't go to those things. I think that those are trade shows. And the trade shows are there in order, those are where you go in order to basically cut deals and figure out how to network and get into the industry. And look, that was an option for me. Obviously, I could have gotten further in my, whatever you want to call a career in terms of blogging or YouTubing or anything. No, I don't think that going to CPAC, having to conform, getting kicked out like Owen Schroyer was, which is absolutely wrong. Owen Schroyer is a legend. I don't think that it was an appropriate price to pay in order to network, right? So, I think Gorka is absolutely, just embarrassing himself here. And, it just shows that there's a lot of work to do in terms of really promoting a free society in America. We all have very, very sharp opinions on certain topics. Gorka, believe it or not, has been called a Nazi many times himself by people who don't know any better. And this projection that he has on other people, and again, I say categorically, I don't like Nick Fuentes. I don't like the Groypers. I've written a piece, which I don't know if it's even available anymore because the site has changed. I wrote something for the New Telegraph. I think they changed its name to the National Telegraph. But basically, ripping apart the Groypers' economic strategy or lack thereof. So it's not as if I am agreeing with these people. In fact, I'd say in some sense I do agree with Gorka on many issues. There was one call I remember that he took on the radio from a woman who was complaining about how he does promo spots for Food for the Poor, which I guess is a charity that collects money for to eliminate hunger in countries like Guatemala and Haiti. And she was complaining, why is it that you collect money for poor people abroad instead of at home? Now, it could be like a lot of these charities, the people who are pitchmen, they get a cut off the top. So it could be that Gorka's just making money from it. But his answer made me think a little bit, because it was a Christian answer. I'm not even Christian. But he said, he said that his position as a Christian is to have compassion for everyone, not just the people within his own borders. And, I had to say I did respect him for that. Even, talking to his own audience, which, a lot of people who are MAGA, not saying everyone, obviously, but there are people who are MAGA who they're not concerned at all with the misery of people outside of the United States. They're only concerned with people who are suffering within our borders. So, yeah, I think that was a good, courageous stand for him. But, what he's doing now with Alex Jones and all that, that's not serious. Apparently he responded, he said, when asked for his response to InfoWars, Gorka replied, "Dude, you're not a journalist either." That is funny sometimes when he replies to some people. Let me see if I can get. So this ad just won't stop. I don't know why I can't skip it. Okay, here we go.
Conservatives off, he can then perch up there. No, Gorka, everyone hates you now. When you pose with guns, everybody knows you don't know which end the bullet comes out of.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Gorka's a big guy. I challenge him to a charity Bears Knuckles boxing match. He'll raise. I'm serious. They'll have it in Vegas. I will get in that ring and I will beat his brains out. Just sign the form, you big, fat, tough guy bully. I'll smash your freaking head in. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Punk is nothing but a piece of crap. You want to challenge Gorka to a charity boxing match because he's so big and powerful and he wants to get in the ring with kooks? Show him. He says selling supplements is snake oil. He's a huge supplement seller. He has that disdain for people.
Yeah.
That inbred wannabe elitism. But he's so dumb, he thinks attacking the main grassroots engine of Trump will get him ahead, because all he wants to do is grovel to the power structure so he can waddle around, and order people around.
You guys are kooks. You're crazy kooks and conspiracy theorists. Go away. This is for real conservatives, not people who are snake oil merchants and conspiracy theorists.
Fake British accent.
Sebastian Gorka here for Relief Factor. And first of all, let me say that I have never before endorsed a pain reliever. But when Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son owners of Relief Factor, asked me to endorse their 100% drug-free product, I absolutely couldn't say no.
This is for real conservatives.
Yeah, I think it's very hypocritical of Gorka, and it's unfortunate that we're dealing with this crap, and that's why I don't go to shit like CPAC. InfoWars, yeah, I don't know anything about their supplements. If you take their supplements, that's your choice. I don't really care. I'm not going to, just like I've had friends who are, serial drug addicts, and, I have the choice whether to force them, whether to impinge on their liberty and say, oh, you can't drop acid. Like I've had friends who are into hallucinogenics. No, I've never done that, and I'm not going to call people who take super male vitality names. It's wrong. I think that if you want to dispute aspects of these products that Alex Jones sells on his site, that's absolutely fine. But when you yourself sell something like Relief Factor, which is also some sort of bizarre supplement, what's the difference? Okay, they're both very controversial alternative homeopathic substances, and I'm not going to look. I would say that the wise statement would be that this is a person, the pot calling the kettle black. There's obviously some laudable things that Sev Gorka says, but he is 100% in the wrong here. And that's why I don't go to CPAC. That's why I think that these things are a waste of time. And that's about it for me. I have to go, but I appreciate those of you that stayed late up, past midnight, past 2 a.m. here. I think Jadwichi's over in the Central Time Zone, not going to say where. Larry Gerke on the West Coast, and A1 Blackman KG. I don't even know who you are, but thanks for joining me. Used to have more people on these streams, but I haven't streamed for a while. But in any case, please like, share, and subscribe. You can also find me on these websites. Okay? YouTube, BitChute, Minds.com, Subscribestar, and Gab. And I will talk to you later. Have a great Wednesday.